Hi everybody. Before we get started on this video, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate your guys' feedback. You guys have no idea how much you've changed me and my life and the way I approach my work and the way I do my videos. When I first started, I was so scared that people were going to see my mistakes and think she doesn't even know what she's doing. You know, I'm not going to watch her, whatever. And I think this is just a result of being a perfectionist all my life and not ever feeling good enough. And this is not a pity party thing. This is just, I think a lot of people deal with this. I tend to want to, at least in my later years, face that and confront it and work through it. I'm not victim. I'm not like life is against me. It's life is life and whatever, it just happens. But I used to fall into the trap of looking at the videos on YouTube like mine, sewing videos, and going, they're so perfect. I mean, everything is flawless. They're lighting and they're sewing and I don't ever see a stitch out of place. And then I left a mistake in one of my videos and showed you how to fix it. And you guys came back with very valuable feedback. And that is, thank you for leaving that in there because I know how to fix it now. So I'm going to attempt to leave some of those in now, not all of them, but leave those in so that you can see that, of course, mistakes happen in every single project and often more than once normally. And then I'll show you how I fix them, and then you can fix them. And so thank you for that. You guys, it just makes me more confident and not cringy when you guys see my mistakes. So there are mistakes in here. They're not a big deal. We fix them right away. No one would have ever known. So thank you for that. And I hope you guys like this video. Okay, the first way that you insert this elastic is, now I prepped some of this. Don't worry about this. This is a scrap piece of material that I used. This is part of what I use as a canopy for my garden. We are going to use a 7/8 inch elastic. It's just what I have on hand, and it's going to need to be smaller than your fabric in width. So if the fabric is already doubled and this is doubled, so it's going to be smaller. So you'll need to take this to the ironing board and press it down roughly 1/4 inch all the way around, and then we are going to take it to the sewing machine and get that sewn down, and then I'll show you how to put this in. Okay, to begin, we are going to make our casing, and if the elastic is 7/8 of an inch, I'm going to make my elastic or my casing 1 inch to 1/8. Oh my gosh, I lost this screw when I was fixing a lamp. Glad I found it. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that this is the same width all the way around, and I'm going to pin it in place to make sure it doesn't shift while I'm sewing. So I'm going to take care of this and I will be right back. Okay, I am going to start right below the center back seam, and I'm going to stitch all the way around and stop on the other side just to give me an opening to put the elastic in. I'm using a straight stitch, and I'm using a stitch length of 2.5. And I'm just going to sew on the very edge. Okay, I'm going to clean up the threads. Now you can use a safety pin or you can use a bodkin. This is what I'm using. I like this because I've used safety pins, and if they're not a good quality safety pin, then when you're running it through the casing, especially if the fabric is a thicker fabric, I've had the safety pins open up and guess what happened? Yes, it goes right through my finger. So I like this because it has a nice blunt round edge or tip, and it's not going to get caught on anything. And because it's a pretty good size casing, even the ring's not going to get hung up on anything. So I'm just going to slide it in here. And you just move it through. And be sure that as it goes through, it doesn't twist. I'm using a non-roll elastic, which is nice because if you don't use this kind, then you're always having to unfold your elastic. Even when the casing is not too big for it, it's just not. The other stuff is fussy. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to pin it in place, just so when I go around, this doesn't get lost inside the casing. You see, I'm kind of having to work it, and I think it's because my casing is just a little, it's not too tight, but it is very close to the same width as the elastic. If it was bigger and looser, then it probably would flow through it easier, but I don't like the casing being too big. It just looks sloppy. So I rather fuss with it a little bit. So you just keep working it, and make sure when you're going through that you don't move that slide, that ring up the bodkin, because it's going to let go of the elastic and then you're going to have to redo it. Okay, something that I was thinking about as I was struggling with getting this elastic through here is that the next time, if I ever do an elastic like this, which I probably won't because I don't like my elastics like this, I'm going to fold that over. That way you're not having any corners getting hooked on the gathers of the casing. So that might help if you're going to insert your elastic like this. So trying to make sure that the elastic isn't twisted. That looks right. I'm going to slide this back a little bit. And you could either do it this way, which I usually do it this way, and then I fold it down to one side, or you can overlap it like this. This to me is a little more difficult because you don't have all the elastic to work with. You just have this one little bit. But I am going to push that fabric back, and we're going to do it this way. So just overlap it a ½ inch or so. And I'm doing a straight stitch at 2.5, or you can do a zigzag. I put my needle down first just so my elastic doesn't shift. Go to the end and pivot. Pivot again. Pivot again. And you pull it, get all that back in there, and then use your straight stitch and close up the waistband. Okay, and that is that one. Now, because it's sewn in loosely, normally all you need to do is stretch it and it kind of readjusts everything to be even. This is my least favorite way to insert elastic, but that's what that looks like. Now I'm going to do my favorite one. Normally, this first step would be done on a serger because I like working with my serger a little better. Okay, you know what? Let me take this back off again. I'll probably need to take that off. So what we're going to do is mark our elastic. So this is going to be the center back where it overlaps. And I'm going to use my pen and mark it here. And then center front. And then you match those two marks up here. And then you're going to mark these ends. And then we're going to do the same thing with our fabric. And we are going to mark, this will be the center back. So we don't have to mark that because we see it. And the front will be here. Now you can mark this with a pen or you can mark it with a pin. It's up to you. So match that mark with the center back seam, and that gives us the side seams. Now, I'm going to place the elastic on the inside. I'm going to match the center back of the fabric with the center back of the elastic. So match the seam with the mark, and I match it flush with that. I'm really going to have to get rid of some of these pins. They're really dull. Then I'm going to take this mark and I'm going to match it to one directly across. And then I will do the same with the side seams. Now, the good part about this is that with the serger, you serge the edges while you're sewing the elastic on. The bad part about the serger is if you're not careful, you can cut it with your cutter. But if your cutter folds away, then that problem is solved. So I'm going to start with a zigzag, and probably at a 2 in length. I'm going to start in the back. Making sure that the elastic lines up with the side of your presser foot. So put your needle down. I'm going to remove the pin. At this point, you're going to stretch. I want the fabric on the bottom and not the elastic. I feel like the fabric is easier controlled on the bottom than the top. So with equal tension on the front and back, I'm going to stretch this until the elastic is the length of the fabric, and if it's pinned correctly, then your raw edge of your fabric should line up with your elastic. So I'm taking it right on the edge. I kind of got off here, but up here I'm going to take it right along the edge. And be sure when you're stretching that you're stretching equally front and back and moving it through. Let the feed dogs guide you through so that you're not putting pressure on the needle, because you don't want that to break. So we finished that section. Now we're going to go to the next section. And again, you're going to pull equally front and back. And again, and do it until right before you get to the needle or the pin. Okay, you can see where I started off away from the edge, and then I got closer to the edge. It looks like I messed up there. I'll have to go over it. But this is what you want it to look like, just on the edge. Okay, if you miss stitches like that, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. No one's going to see this, but when we do the next step, it'll take care of all that. I just felt like I had to do it. So the next step is at your center back seam, fold it down and make sure that your seam here matches the seam here, and we are going to stitch it down. Now I'm going to use a wider stitch. You can use the widest that you have. Mine is just C, it's the letter C, and it shows you the width, so I'm just using the widest. Now I'm going to align the edge of the elastic with the inside of this toe here. That way I know I'm getting the edge of the elastic and quite a bit of the elastic up through the elastic, if that makes sense. So put my needle down. Now this is going to take some adjusting as you go along, because you can see the gathers right here, but when you pull it tight, it straightens everything out, and that's what you want. And I'm going to lengthen my stitch a little bit. That one was a 2. I'm going to go 2.5 and even maybe 3. We'll just see what it looks like. Now I'm going to explain the pros and cons of each of these. I love this one. They're really evenly spaced gathers, and they're not going to flip and twist, and there's no readjusting. I made a sports bra for myself, and I was forever adjusting the band around the body because it would fold and then it would twist. It was horrible. So this is my favorite. The downfall to this is if you lose weight, it's a little more difficult to adjust your size because you have to unstitch all of this and then downsize the elastic and then sew it back in, which to me it's worth it because this is so non-fussy, if that's the correct word. And to me, this just gives it a more professional look, in my opinion. This looks more homemade. Now with this elastic, you probably won't deal with twisting, but you might deal with sliding, like the center back elastic might slide around, you know, through adjusting and adjusting and adjusting. So those are the two ways that I know how to do this and that I have done this. Like I said, this is my favorite, so that's it. All right, you guys, thank you for watching the whole way through. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share. And if you're not subscribed, I would ask that you consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you're notified when I upload more videos. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.